Oh my gosh. Hi, Judy. Welcome to Soulful IVF. So good to have you here.
Hi, Lisa. I am really excited to be on your show, on your
Oh,
podcast.
thank you. Thank you. Yes, we got to meet at ASRM in Denver this past fall, and you're just full of light. And I was so excited to meet you. And we did a little book exchange. I've got your book in my hands. Getting to Baby, a food first fertility plan to improve your odds and shorten your time to pregnancy. So I'm so thankful. This book is amazing. I encourage everyone to check it out. And yeah, I'm so excited to have you. We're going to have a talk about plant based foods today. And like, you're the expert, you're the registered
Oh,
dietitian here. So can't wait to have you share your gems with us today.
thank you. And I'm so excited that we met because I found your book to be really inspirational. My patients are always looking for support. And, the coaching and the help that you provide women going through IVF is so important because I don't know, when I started this 20 years ago, people just didn't get it. So I'm so glad that a lot of people who've done the journey feel like I want to get involved in this. And I think it's
Yeah.
great.
Thank you. Yeah, you walked this path too, which
Hmm.
means even more. And before we do talk about foods and diet and all the good
Hmm.
stuff, I'd love for you to share a little bit about yourself because I know you're based in the Seattle area.
Yes, I am. I like to call myself a Pacific Northwest native. I've honestly lived here over 30 years, but my life started in the Midwest and became a dietitian, married the guy of my dreams, all that good stuff. And we all have a plan, or if you're a
Mm,
planner. And I was like, I'm going to have kids at 30. I got the right guy. I'm happy. Had the dog, the house. 30 came and went. So
mm,
I had those years of that unexplained infertility. And remember, this is over 30 years ago. A lot less technology, science, research. You
yeah.
know, RE is actually reproductive endocrinology is actually one of the newer specialties.
Mm,
And so I went through that month after month, bring the basal body temperature chart to your doctor. He's like, yep, you're ovulating every month. Yep, his semen analysis is good. Frustrating, sad, all that
yeah.
waiting. I did have a miscarriage a year before I conceived my daughter. So that was really, really difficult. And there was no resources. There weren't the books, there weren't the support groups. People would say, at least you got pregnant. I mean, that was the
Mm,
messaging I was getting.
oh gosh.
And then this is like even pre IVF, so really it was gift and zift. Women were having 3 or 4 babies if they did it. I was like, no, no, no. I was even scared of Clomid. So I was fortunate, with IUI to be able to conceive my daughter. And then we moved to Seattle. And I swear, I don't know, Lisa, if it was environment, toxicities, endocrine
Mm,
disruptors. But, I had just weaned her at like 10 or 11 months and I got pregnant because I was never using birth control again. Because why? It was so hard.
mm,
And I don't know. I really wonder what was different. Seattle was my calling, and I was able to conceive, and I was a few years older. So it's kind of we don't know all the answers, but
yeah.
I really, when I came back, it took a few years off for my kiddos, and then when I came back, I fell into the world of PCOS and my clinical work at University of Washington, and
Hmm.
then I said, hey, I wasn't really trained in this area. I met up with the reproductive endocrinologist in the fertility clinic, great doctors like Angela Thayer, my co-author, Paul Lynn. And I'm like, will you teach us dietitians what the heck is PCOS? Why am I seeing women coming off of birth control and having all these horrible symptoms, not being able to get pregnant? So that was kind of my entry, my own story, and then helping women with PCOS. And I really learned that 20 something years ago. I had to go to all their meetings and their conferences, just like you do. I had to go to American Society of Reproductive Medicine, Pacific Coast Reproductive Society, go to those, really learn, fertility 101 and understand where did nutrition play a role. And luckily, studies were just starting to come out. Like the fertility diet book came out in 2008 out of Harvard, and we finally were getting some studies. And so, really, long answer, but that was really kind of the way that I got involved in because I saw that lifestyle management was helping women with PCOS and they were able to conceive after they hadn't been ovulating. So that was kind of my entryway into this whole field.
Hmm. You said you had 6 IUIs? Was it
And
6?
number 6, I got
Six?
pregnant.
Six?
Nobody would do that now. Nobody would do 6
No.
unmedicated IUIs.
Oh,
Well,
unmedicated.
yeah,
Okay.
unmedicated, unmonitored. I think OPKs had just come out. I'd be like, "What do you think?" They're like, "Yeah, I'll bring in a sample tomorrow." I mean, it was really bare
Oh, wow.
bones. It
The
was really
wild,
bare
wild
bones.
west, right?
Wild West. Yes, I'm glad it's better and there's more tools for people now.
Yeah. So back then, you did not have like a strong base foundation in nutrition at that time
No, I
when you were
did.
when you were trying to conceive.
Oh, did I? I didn't know it had anything to do with conception. I just knew, like, I knew
Mhm.
prenatal nutrition and I knew you needed certain nutrients, but I had no idea that nutrition for males and females, or,
Mhm.
people identify with those genders, could make a difference in their health, right?
Yeah.
And could make a difference in fertility that we really only mostly had animal studies out. This is
Mm.
this is before the internet. You used to have to go to the
Oh,
library and go
yeah.
through the studies by hand when I was an
Deci.
undergrad,
What was the
before the
decimals
internet. Okay.
or
I've
data?
really dated myself, but I used to love to go to medical libraries and just like look at the journal articles. Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
lot different then.
I know you're connected with the University of Washington. You're on
Yes.
faculty with them in the teaching
Yes.
nutrition, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so you're up in the latest and greatest on the research, and that's why I'm so honored to like have these conversations with
Oh,
you
thank
because
you.
yeah, I think nutrition and really like you say, eating to optimize your fertility. That's
Hmm.
that's what this is about. And like what do you, I mean, this is a loaded question. What do you know now that you almost like if you could put yourself back when you were starting on your fertility path, like where are some of these first steps? Where should people like
Right. Well, good
good
question.
idea, good foundation? What would you
So
say to
I,
them?
I want people to, first of all, look at their health in general. And if they have any chronic condition, so think about the two most common reasons someone goes to a fertility clinic: PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and ovulation, which has a metabolic component. And then I say number two is endometriosis, or often it's not even diagnosed. That's
Mhm.
a chronic, it's an inflammatory condition. And then you think about male factor is often impacted by chronic disease. So maybe the male has type 2 diabetes, a lot of lipid, blood pressure issues. So all of those, like, most common or more common reasons for infertility um, really can be improved by a healthier diet. And I would say, coming up in the Midwest, just I ate my vegetables, but I grew up in a much more meat centric diet. Like you had, I mean, what, my mom used to serve back then, that was enough meat that maybe I'd serve my whole family. Do you know what I mean? The portion of meat was
Yeah, yeah,
bigger.
right.
Although she home cooked a lot of, there were things from the box was kind of cool back then, like a TV dinner kind of things and some of the
Oh yeah.
processed foods, right?
Yeah.
Um, and fast forward, like you asked, now helping people to have a more plant-centered focus, not meaning they have to be a vegan or a vegetarian, but what they need to add in to get those antioxidants, a lower glycemic diet, how improving your health is going to improve your fertility and making sure it's optimized.
Yeah, I know in your book you really break down you call it the three principles of a fertility
Mm-hmm.
promoting diet. One is anti-inflammation and high in fiber, two
Mm-hmm.
low glycemic, and three high in antioxidants.
Yes. Yes. So do you know, I'll ask you a quiz
Oh
question,
boy, oh
Lisa,
no.
because I'm presenting to Pacific Coast Reproductive Society. This is one of my post-test questions. That's okay. Which food group do you think provides the most antioxidants? Just take it.
Provides the most
Yeah.
anti
Which food group?
fruits and
It
vegetables.
is. It's fruit. It's
Okay,
fruit even
fruits.
more than vegetables. And I really
Fruits.
push
Okay.
vegetables for being low glycemic and nutrient dense. So if you think about, like, I had an orange today, I had some berries yesterday with my yogurt. Those antioxidants really help reduce some of the oxidative stress, which could be having a negative impact on the development of our, upcoming follicles, our eggs, and for
Hmm.
men on their sperm. So if someone isn't eating any fruit or they eat a fruit a week, well, that's pretty easy. We can work on easy ways to add in fruit. And sadly, I see people like, well, I'm not eating fruit because it has too much sugar. And you're like, well, wait a minute, hold on. There's a difference between added sugar, right? And there was a lot of people wearing continuous glucose monitors who don't have prediabetes or anything. They're just
Oh,
curious. And I'm like,
oh,
Judy, when I ate grapes, my blood sugar went up. I'm like, well, that's okay. That's normal. If it comes back down, you're fine. But red grapes have a lot of antioxidants. So
mm,
work them in your diet, right? Don't exclusively. So you're right. I mentioned antioxidants, which you get primarily, mostly from plant products, right? So they're important. Good, I
mhm.
like that. That helps with inflammation too.
So yeah, those are great examples. So berries, really good
Yes.
antioxidants. What about like dried fruit? That's not the same.
Well,
That's more
you
the
know, the thing
fiber,
about
right?
dried fruit, they taste delicious. You have to watch because a lot of them have sugar added.
Mm,
So, for
mhm,
example, I know one of my favorite stores, they have two kinds of dried mango, and one has sugar added and one doesn't. But even if it doesn't have sugar added, they're pretty concentrated. So if you're eating a whole bag of dried fruit, that you may be eating several servings of fruit where it might be nice to spread it out throughout the day and have a variety of things. But that
mhm,
that is a way, or maybe you put it in baking, you sprinkle it in a salad, some dried cranberries or something like that, which is kind of lovely
mhm.
to have, right? I
Yeah.
kind of crack up that people have switched to using like all these dates, like they put like a million dates in date paste because they don't want to have added sugar. I'm like, well, if you eat enough dates, it's still a form of sugar. Do you know what I mean? It's still, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, I'm talking about like minimizing added sugar, like instead of drinking, Kool-Aid or sugar sweetened beverages, maybe you're switching to LaCroix or having less of the added sugar. And that helps to reduce inflammation in the body.
Okay. LaCroix is okay. Those sparkling waters, they're
Yes,
okay.
ma'am, enjoy them. I
Are
think I
they?
have one a day. Yeah, yeah.
I heard something that maybe it wasn't as great, but that's
Oh,
why I'm asking. That's
well,
why I'm asking you.
usually nothing in excess. I mean, water maybe is the exception, but when
Uh-huh.
somebody wants something bubbly, I think that's a nice change. It's certainly a
Yeah.
lot better than having a soda. And a lot of times when people tell me, "Oh, Judy, I'm addicted to sugar. I'm craving sugar," when we sit back and we listen to their day, often it's like coffee all morning, and enough time for lunch. I grabbed a snack, and they're starving. So at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, a soda or candy or chocolate sound really good because they're tanking. So it doesn't mean you can't have any added sugar. Even people with diabetes, we can work sugar in some, but
Mhm.
having more of a balance. And so that's what we talk about in the book. And you probably saw that plate that we had where we like load up like half the plate with more vegetables and
Yeah.
some fruits. And then when when we drew that picture of whole grain, like we went to the wheat, we went to the kernel. And I want people to realize that there's a difference between eating like barley and farro and oats than having everything as refined grains. Like we really wanted to say, check out in our recipes we have quinoa and farro and barley and oats. They're inexpensive.
Mhm.
People are shocked when they see how much protein and fiber is in grains, and people don't really know. There's like a protein buzz going on right now. Yes, we need protein. You get a
Yeah.
lot of protein from plants, from beans, from tofu, from edamame.
And tofu, all those are okay for
Yes.
fertility diet because I think
Yes.
some
And
people get afraid with the estrogen, or they get worried about
yeah,
estrogen levels.
they do. They get worried because it's a phytoestrogen. It's a very, very weak estrogen. If you go to any Asian country, I've been to Taiwan, they eat tofu like 3 times a day. They're all having children.
Okay.
No, we do have more data. In fact, in the Earth study, they found that the people who ate more tofu and soy actually had lower levels of bisphenol A and some of the endocrine disruptors in their body. That it
Mm.
actually may help actually reduce them. And we have a lot on soy in the book, and I'm a lover of soy because I always say that little edamame bean is a perfect bundle of protein. So it gives you protein that we need, carbohydrate, energy, fiber, healthy fat, and then, other phytochemicals that are in it. It's inexpensive. You can make it into soy milk. It can be tofu. It can be minimally processed with high, high benefits. So yeah,
Mm.
soy is delicious. I always keep tofu in my fridge and edamame in my freezer, and you can always throw something together.
Okay, and you mentioned grains, so like
Yes.
farro, um, tempeh, that's pretty good. Is that tempeh?
So
That's
tempeh is actually fermented soy, but
soy, right?
sometimes they use a little wheat with it, depending on how they ferment it. So that's a good point. It might have some of each, But yeah,
Okay.
whole grains, and I think a lot of people don't realize how easy they are to cook. I'm a big fan of, I don't love brown rice, to be really honest. I don't think it's that, doesn't float my boat, but I love black rice, forbidden rice. And when you cook black rice, which you can cook stovetop in a or in a rice cooker, it turns really dark purple. It has those anthocyanins like flavonoids, like what we have in blueberries and
Mm.
raspberries and in pomegranates. It's high in protein, it's high in fiber, and it's low glycemic. So whenever you're eating grains like oats that have fiber and protein, and you add it with fruit and maybe yogurt, you're getting a really nice balanced meal that's going to be nutrient dense. It's going to pack in a lot of nutrients. It's going to hit those three things you talked about, right? Being you read the book,
Yeah.
anti-inflammatory, antioxidants. You're going to get those in your
Mm.
diet, and then hopefully you're going to be more satisfied when you're adding some of these in. So for some people, Lisa, I tell them to try one plant-based meal a week. Like try one dish. You'll have some leftovers. Like we have a great recipe, like a quinoa paella. We have a really easy kind of massage cabbage and tofu, like an Asian dish. Like try one of those. Most of them make at least 4 servings. You'll have some leftovers, and then oh, you're eating more than one plant-based meal.
So for people listening, so favorite meats, favorite fish, like what are some of the fertility friendly
Right. So
that
when
we
we
could consider?
talk about the animal products, I encourage people, if they eat eggs, if they're not vegan or eat them, with religious reasons, eggs are high biological value protein. Don't throw away your yolks. I cry when people only eat the whites. The yolks, the cholesterol actually helps to build healthy hormones, and it contains choline. And 90% of women do not have enough choline at the time of conception. Choline works together with your green leafy vegetables, that folate. And the first thing before you even know you're pregnant, that neuroline, you're an OT, you know about neurodevelopment,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Right? Am I right? The neural tube and the brain are developing, and they need folate and choline synergistically. So I tell women to try to have at least 3 to 7 eggs, have those greens on board. They're really, really important to have choline. But the bigger picture on animals is we have a lot of research has shown that definitely processed meat is not exactly great for sperm. Okay, that's a good place. If you're going to have red meat, have it less frequently and try to get good quality, leaner, maybe grass fed if you can afford it. Maybe
Mm.
have it less frequently. And then chicken, poultry is kind of neutral. It's a protein source. They haven't shown it to be worse or better for fertility, but fish comes up time and again in studies. Fish 2 to 3 times a week. That can be seafood. And we really think it's a couple reasons. The fat is more monounsaturated, okay, rather than saturated, and that seems to be more fertility friendly. It has more omega-3s, which are anti-inflammatory. So I talk to my patients all the time, and they'll be really excited. Well, I had salmon. My husband, what did my one patient call it? Kind of surf and turf or surf and land day or whatever, because her
Surf
husband
and
will eat
turf,
a
yeah.
steak. She'll eat salmon. But what we talked about is, I said, make enough salmon so you have enough for a leftover to get one more meal out of it. Maybe you put it in an omelet the next day with greens. So one of my
Mm.
favorite things is put vegetables into your omelet, get the greens, maybe put a little cheese, put leftover salmon in your omelet. You could get so many things in an omelet, a frittata, or a quiche that can really check a lot of boxes, and then you get that fish twice a week. So I really try to make a fish taco out of it. So the fish have the benefit. So then if I have someone who's a strict vegan, I'm going to want to make sure they're getting enough B12, they're getting enough choline if they don't eat eggs. So being a vegan isn't like get out of jail free card. They have some nutrients they need to make up. So that's why I call it plant centered and not
Mm-hmm.
just plant-based, like being a little bit broader than that. And the other thing I do with protein is I tell people they don't necessarily have to use a protein powder out of a can, that they can do all kinds of fun things like, they can use yogurt and dairy, they can use soy or pea protein milk, but also you can do crazy things like, we have a smoothie recipe with no protein powder. And we recommend putting some raw oats in it and some chia seeds. You'll get protein, you'll get fiber naturally, and then you'll get more benefits. So I
You said
always say
raw
that,
oats. You said raw
yeah.
oats and chia seeds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can put raw
Yeah.
oats and chia seeds in your
Mm-hmm.
smoothie.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Mm-hmm.
fantastic. And then vice versa, you can pump up your oatmeal to put a lot of those things in it and make kind of a super oatmeal, super overnight oats. We
Yep.
talk about that in the book too. Like, what are simple things to make? Because I live in the Pacific Northwest. A lot of my patients are in the tech world. They work really long hours. Even when they're at home, they're like, I don't have time to cook.
Yeah.
So I want to help them with what's fast and easy. And that's why we did you like the culinary tips in our book?
Everything, it's so good, Judy. Like the
Oh,
blueprint, all of it's very well laid out, very simple, easy to follow. Yeah, culinary tips, you break it down week by week. I mean, yeah, it's great
and
cooking
really,
tips. Great cooking tips.
yeah, and I want to mention real quickly that this book, our inspiration, we didn't just wake up. Angela Thayer, who's a reproductive endocrinologist. She's like triple board certified, also in lifestyle medicine. During COVID, she got certified as a vegan chef to get the
Oh,
chef
wow.
skills. So probably about, I don't know, I think it was 15 years ago, she was sending me a lot of patients. And I go, Angela, I love these ladies. I want to bring them all together in a room. And I had this idea to do these food for fertility classes. Like, no one had done this. This is a while ago.
Mhm.
And she asked her clinic, and they said, sure, you can use the staff room. And let me tell you, it was bare bones. I had a microwave. I would bring like electric skillets and like things you could cook in. And so I started these 6 to 7 week classes, and I'd have up to
Yeah.
12 women. We cooked every week. We'd have
Oh,
greens, grains, different things that we would
yeah.
do. We cooked, we learned. I'd have yoga teachers come in, and I'd have trainers come in. We'd do some exercise. And then the best part of the whole class is we take a walk outside, whatever the weather was, for 30 minutes, social support. So we did this for 12 years until COVID, and then it pivoted to virtual, which was a little different, but still fun in home kitchens. And these women, the first couple classes, they're still friends and go to their kids' birthday parties. They're like 10 years old, their kids and stuff like that. It's crazy. Um, but a lot of these women didn't have to do an IVF because they started to
Mhm.
cycle after
Right.
the class because they started to eat healthy and exercise. And instead of telling someone, oh, just be healthy, we help them do it. And that
Yeah.
was the inspiration. Like you read all the stories in the book. Those are women over the years. We collected their stories, we recorded their stories with permission. We took favorite recipes and we said, let's put the whole class in the book. And my goal is that if this book could be in every library and I didn't even make a
Mm.
penny, like let's just get it out in the libraries for people. It's on Kindle, it's on audio. I really wanted to make an affordable resource. And whenever I go to these fertility clinics, I meet people like you and I'm like, hey, tell your patients. And then you tell your patient about my book is,
Mhm.
we are not social media influencers trying to make the big bucks selling stuff. We really want to have good resources out there for people that we
Yeah.
feel really good. And I'm like, hey, we have 300 citations on our book.
Mm.
It
Yeah,
wasn't
I
made up.
it's very thorough.
These are real stories. Fertility doctor, dietitian,
Yeah.
these are our patients that we saw. We had so many more that wanted their stories in the books, but I wanted to have like, the ones that
Yeah.
went with the chapters. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
no, it's
that's
very
how.
research backed. I love it. Yeah, I just we're so in alignment with a holistic approach, right?
Mhm.
Mindset and the lifestyle and our diet, like all of it impacts, our ability to move through this, like optimize really our fertility. And I wanted to go back just a few things. So
Yes.
maybe it's almost like a hot seat. So vegetables, should
Yes.
we cook them? Should they be heated, raw, steamed? What's your take
Ooh,
on that?
I love that. No one's asked me that question, Lisa. That's so good. I
Really?
think all of the above, because
Okay.
interestingly enough, when you cook your tomatoes, like I was just making a tomato sauce before I came into the office this morning for a pasta dish. When you cook them, you actually release more of the lycopene, which is a wonderful, antioxidant, especially for
Yeah.
male health too. So I think I like a variety because some nutrients are more released. Now, if you take things and if every vegetable you put is in the Vitamix, you do lose some vitamin C. You do lose some, but you don't lose
Hmm.
all of it, right?
Yeah.
So, I think, minimal preparation, but I think doing a variety, I tell people any way you can eat your fruits and vegetables is a good day.
And
Whether
it's
they're steamed, they can be, they could be frozen. Like
okay.
frozen berries are so convenient. Like if you buy berries now, they may be very expensive. They come from halfway across the world. Whereas the berries that I bought were from California, the Pacific Northwest,
Mm.
picked at the time of peak. They're going to be frozen. They're going to have lots of great antioxidants. They won't lose too much vitamins. That's a great question.
Yeah. Well, I was just asking too because during my IVF cycle, like my acupuncturist
Oh,
recommended heated, like warming foods. Cook your vegetables,
yes,
not the raw. Like I could still eat a salad, but he leaned
yes.
like
And
a
you know what?
warming diet.
I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of my patients also have some influence of Eastern medicine. They're working with an
Mm.
acupuncturist.
Yep.
And if they feel that's the way they want to go, I'm going to support them. And I go, well, let's do warm food. Let's do soups and cool off on salads, and you can get your nutrients. So I
Mhm.
think that's just more of a different, version, which we learned so much from Eastern medicine. So
Yeah.
I'm totally
Okay.
open. So once in a while we bump heads and I go, let me talk to this acupuncturist, and then we figure it out. But yeah,
Yeah, so
absolutely.
good. Another
Absolutely.
question is in the area of milks. There's so many milks out
Oh
there
yeah.
now. Whole milk, cashew, almond, soy. Like
Great
what's your take on
question.
milk?
Yeah. So if you tolerate dairy, there's, about a third of the world has lactose intolerance. So like, I am
Mm,
not drinking milk, but they're okay with yogurt or a little hard cheese. So for the anovulatory folks, like the women with PCOS, we do have data that one full fat dairy a day can be really helpful. And we hypothesize that could be because that fat is helping with hormones. But what if
mm,
you don't like dairy? What if it's horrible to you? I encourage people, if they're doing plant milks, to get the ones that are most nutrient dense. And those would be soy, pea protein, maybe cashew. But with the nut milks, it depends what the concentration is. So the average almond milk, I'm going to just say it, is an expensive box of water because it has 1 gram of protein. It's like the almond swam through it. It's
Okay.
not going to add much nutrition, right?
Okay.
Some
Yeah.
people make their own nut milks, and there's some that are more concentrated. They're going to be more expensive, and they will have a source of protein. But pea protein and soy, you can get 8 or 9 grams, just like dairy milk. So milk is kind of an individual because gut, and then androgen. Some women, their skin will flare up with dairy from the protein. I tell them to take it out for a month and see. So it's not a must have, but boy, yogurt's a great carrier of great probiotics. So that's why another thing, I love full fat dairy, but I say full fat. I tell people they don't have to take, it tastes
Yeah.
better.
Same with cottage cheese,
Oh
yogurt, cottage
yeah, go for
cheese,
the good
full
stuff.
fat.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay.
People are surprised how much protein's in cottage cheese and ricotta cheese. I go,
Mm,
yeah, when you want to have a little snack and you want to have a little balance, if you do some cottage or ricotta cheese, it's really nice with fruit or veggies as a little snack
yeah.
too.
Another question about caffeine.
Oh,
When I was going through IVF, green tea was really the only thing that was recommended to me, and to really not drink coffee, maybe an occasional coffee drink
yeah.
once in a while. What are your thoughts on caffeine?
The data is really mixed. It's not a hard stop. So what we recommend in the book is about 200 milligrams or less. I know I went through that when I was trying to get pregnant for years. Like, when can I drink wine? When can't I? When can I have
Yeah,
coffee? When
alcohol too.
not?
That was my next question.
Yeah, wine. Yeah. Well, usually we recommend not having it when you could potentially be pregnant and try
Mm,
to minimize it. With men, the docs have said like more than two a night is a lot. I mean, I have
mm,
patients and I ask, how much does your husband drink? And they'll tell me 4 drinks a night. And I'm like, that's a lot of alcohol. That can have an impact on
yeah.
sperm. But going back to coffee, there was I think it was a Swedish or Danish study that actually found that sometimes up to 5 cups of coffee, they actually saw better outcomes on IUIs
Oh,
and kind of mix on IVF. And here's what I think. Coffee beans have antioxidants. I think there's some benefit. The concern is, does caffeine have an effect? And I really don't think we have a solid answer. I think it's just a little safer, like on other things. I wish people cared more about how much fruits and vegetables they were eating. They get hung up on their coffee. And I'm like, okay, that's one thing, but do all the other stuff too. A good question.
yeah. Thank you. That's really good. Yeah, I know with the data out there and really optimizing our egg health, ideally, it's
Yes,
good to have women see a specialist or really start to improve their nutritional diet 90 days before an egg retrieval. Is that right?
absolutely. 90 days before. And that's because we have this first 1,000 days with baby's development. So preconception has an impact on the epigenetics of the developing baby, like which genetics. like their future chronic disease. It's crazy, but I see changes in outcome. I see a lot of women with repeat pregnancy loss, failed IVF cycles, and we just said, okay, blank slate. Let's start over with nutrition. And if they have a couple of months, it really depends on their ovarian reserve. I've seen women with DOR like just do a do-over on diet, and then the next time they do, they get more eggs. So, I
Wow.
mean, I've seen the difference. We don't have a good marker, like for men, we can say like, oh, your semen analysis is better. Still doesn't guarantee a baby, but we see things better, right? With egg quality, we can see, was the IVF successful? How many eggs? How many fertilized? But we don't have that like specific marker. But I always tell my women, like, when you tell me your health is getting so much better, like I talked to a woman yesterday and she just went down the list. I'm sleeping better. I feel better. I'm stronger. And the fiber secret, the 25 to 35 grams of, guess what? These women, like they go, I've never pooped better in my life. My gut feels good. So think
Yeah.
about it really quickly.
Stay
When you're
regular.
getting enough fiber, that's why I want the beans, the lentils, the fruits, and the vegetables. Your gut's going to do its job. The fiber is the food. It's the prebiotic that feeds your gut biome. That helps have an impact on your hormones. So if you have that more estrogen dominance or excess estrogen, you have enzymes in your gut that will help break down and remove some of the excess estrogen. If you're not having good gut digestion, you may not be getting that benefit. And that's why we see women with PCOS, they just work on their fiber. I have one patient, she counts her fiber grams every day. We talk about other stuff too.
Yeah.
And she's seen her symptoms of PCOS just improving, with healthier gut and more fiber.
We want to go have a BM once a day? Is that good?
At least, I hope,
At
yes,
least
one or
once a
two.
day.
I
I
tell
remember
people when you eat more fiber, you're going to go to the bathroom more, and that's okay. It's not a bad thing.
I remember back in the day watching Oprah. I think it was on Oprah. It was like
Oh,
talking about the shape. Remember the S? Like
oh. Yeah, it's the whole Bristol chart where they are. And there are sometimes if you're just getting used to eating more beans and lentils or cabbage and stuff, you're like, whoa, that was a lot of stool. Well, your body's getting used to that too. But yeah, we do want to see you, going at
healthy.
least once a day. And I try to work with women on their gut health if they're having an issue because that can make a difference on their hormone levels too.
Mm-hmm.
It all adds
And
up,
for
like you said. Be holistic. Think of the whole body and how it's feeling.
and for males to optimize their nutrition, is there like a timeline for them?
Well, they're so lucky because every 70 to 80 days they got new sperm on board, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Is it
if
wait, 70
they
to 80 days? Is that I thought it was
yes.
maybe almost every 24 hours, or what am I thinking
Well, they're
about?
always making new ones constantly,
Yeah.
but it's like a whole
Yeah.
turnover, right? So the
Oh.
big thing for them is they sperm respond really well to having adequate vitamin D in fish. Omega-3 are really helpful. And then remember nuts, handful of
Nuts.
nuts, the
Yeah.
Nut study, 60 grams of nuts. If a guy eats one large Brazil nut, that's all the selenium he needs for a day. He doesn't have to get it from a
One
supplement.
Brazil nut.
Yeah, there you go. So I say buy the mixed nuts and send your guy with 60 grams, a couple of ounces of nuts every day or nuts and seeds. It'll improve his sperm quality just from that, even if it doesn't change anything
Wow.
else, right? Why miss out on that?
This is
They're
so good. I mean, there's a
delicious.
million more questions I could ask you. Like we didn't even talk. We focused on the plant-based foods today, but I
We
know
did.
supplements is a big passion
Yeah,
of yours as
we
well.
could
Like
talk
talking about
another time on that. Yeah,
another time.
absolutely. Yes.
Because there's so many more questions I think people would ask, want to know about. But this has been so good. I
Oh,
appreciate you, your book, your
oh, thank
knowledge.
you.
And for people that want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to?
Yeah, so I'm at Fertile Nutrition on Instagram. I have a Facebook page, Mind Body Nutrition, and my website, Mind Body Nutrition. I've got a lot of podcast links on my website. This first year of the book launch, I think I'm doing like 3 or 4 a month, and I know I have 3 this month. So I just on fertility, a whole bunch of them, Dr. Amy, Baby or Bust, and I think those are really good. And I love these podcasts. I send them to my patients.
So
Like
good.
when I find good ones, like yours, I like to
Thank
send them
you.
to my patients because I go, who can I trust? So I want
Mm.
them to have, people who they can trust for information. But yeah, absolutely join me on Instagram. And the book does have a chapter on food first, supplement. So we gave kind of a quick overview of what we think the minimums are. So that's another reason for your folks to get a copy of the book, to
Yeah.
buy one, or get out of the library.
Yeah, but we can get so much from our food alone.
Thank you. Thank you for sending that message out. I appreciate it.
Yes, you're a joy. Thank you so much, Judy. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Lisa. Hope to see you soon.
Yes. Bye.
Okay.
Bye.